Alright guys, Nick here with Two Guys One Car. We are back at you with a video that might look familiar if you're an original subscriber to the channel. I shot this video by myself the first time. The car was a totally different color, and basically the basis of this video was why the 8th gen Honda Civic is the most unreliable Civic ever made. As you see from the title, I have a few issues with this car. Some of them are very major, some of them are minor, so we're going to go over all of them today and show you guys exactly what I'm talking about and show you some quick fixes for some of them, and also to tell you some of them really aren't fixable by yourself. So let's get into it. This is an 8th gen Honda Civic. My year is specifically 2008. This is an EX model coupe, a 1.8 liter motor, automatic transmission. So it's a great car. It's not peppy by any means. It's a perfect, economical commuter car like most Civics are. But there are major issues with this car, and I'm going to dive into the first one. There are four pretty main issues with it. The first one, and the most important one in my opinion, this car was affected by the Takata airbag recall. So that's a pretty big issue considering that can kill you. So it was taken care of by Honda. But then there was an issue with it because I actually know the previous owner of this car very well. So I have service records for this car for the 3 to 4 years that she owned it. And what's in there is pretty troubling. But yeah, starting with the recall, it had that taken care of, and then it had another airbag issue that wasn't under recall. She had to pay $800 out of pocket for that. So that's something to look out for. If you go to buy this car and the airbag light is on, you might want to get that taken care of. I mean, I always recommend bringing any used car off Craigslist before you're going to buy it to a mechanic or somebody knowledgeable. But that's the first thing. The second thing, another very big thing, the blocks on these motors crack. The R18 series 1.8 liter motor has a defective block. Now that's another thing that Honda recalled and will take care of under warranty. She brought it to our Honda dealership locally, and they had it in and out the door with a new block within the day, which is pretty crazy. I mean, she dropped it in the morning and it was ready the next morning. So they were on top of that, they took care of it. But that's one thing to really look out for. Make sure that if whoever you're gonna buy this car off of has paperwork for the entire time of their ownership of the vehicle, because it's very important to see those two things. Now, moving on to the more minor issues. I mean, this isn't that minor. I'm gonna show you guys a clip. This car is plasti dipped, and there's a reason for that. I'm going to show you a clip real quick of what it looked like before that and give you an idea of exactly why we plasti dipped my car. This wasn't due to sun exposure or not taking care of the car or anything. This is an ongoing issue that Honda has addressed between 2006 and 2011, where the paint on these cars was not done correctly, and this was the result. So yeah, as you guys see, as I was saying in the video, this car is affected by a paint defect. I don't know what the specifics of it were, but I think they didn't use enough paint, I guess, or they didn't use enough clear coat. The clear coat chips on this car, every Civic you're guaranteed to see from this year, unless the car is red. I noticed the red ones don't really have the issue. Every other color, you're gonna get bad paint peel on the front nose, the top, the pillar here, and the trunk, the flat, the more flat and higher up surfaces. It looks atrocious. It'll drastically affect the resale value of the car. So yeah, I mean, you can kind of see with your own eyes that that's an issue. So you'll know when you go to get the car. Another thing, moving on to the most minor of the issues now, the motor mounts go bad on these cars to the point where, I mean, you get in the car, start it, and while it's cold idling, the whole car is violently shaking. I mean, the dash, the door panels, the seat, everything's shaking. So those were taken care of. I mean, it's a pretty dead giveaway. If you go to buy a car and it's violently shaking, that's probably not normal. So that's another thing to look out for. The next thing, here, why don't you come on in here? I'll show you. If you notice, if you get up there, there's no sun visor at the moment in my car, and it's because I'm currently repairing it for the second time I've owned it. The sun visor split in half at the very top of the visor. So there's, I mean, just quick fix to be, like handy or whatever you want to do. You can grab a C-clamp and some Gorilla Glue, clamp it shut for a day, let it sit, and then scrape the excess glue off. I did that, it lasted a year, and now I have to redo it. I have no sun visor right now. So that's the other thing. Now, with all that being said, there are major positives to this car, like I mentioned before. I am contradicting myself a bit, but I'm not at the same time, because I'm giving you guys, you know, a really in-depth review of this car. We're gonna get into driving it, we're gonna get into how it feels and do our usual review and recommendation at the end. But before we do that, you know, it is contradictory. But you do have to get, you know, one of these checked out by a mechanic, and you also, without a doubt, have to buy it from somebody with service records. If there are no service records, you do not touch this car at all. If there are, and all these issues I mentioned are taken care of, by all means go for it, because it's treated me so well. 150,000 miles, I've done no major work, just front end work since I've owned it for about over a year now, and that's really about it. And you know, just routine maintenance, oil changes, things like that. It's the typical Honda, besides all the other stuff that's wrong with it. When you get past that, it's you know, still your typical Honda. All right guys, so we're gonna get into driving the Civic. And you know, I'm really one of those guys who isn't a Honda hater for what they are. I am a Honda hater when kids go and ruining these cars, you know, by lowering them or doing pointless things. I mean, if it's an SI, it's a bit of a different story, but this is, you know, it's just an EX Civic with a very economical, straightforward and easy power plant. I'm gonna get into the driving of it. Right off the bat, it's just what you would expect. It's a very simple put together car. There's nothing crazy about it. The power is really not there. It's painfully slow, in fact. With that crazy VTEC, you know, that doesn't crack until, on this car, 6,300 RPM. There's not much to be said in terms of power. The car handles very nicely, though. I do like the way this car handles. The steering doesn't tighten like you would want it to when you're going around a turn, but I've noticed that in literally every Honda I've ever driven, including SIs or whatever it may be. But the responsiveness in general of this is very nice. Ride quality, I just put new struts and axles in it, so we're back to feeling what it would feel like stock, which is nice. It feels great. The ride quality's perfectly fine for this car. And you know, like I said, this is a car that I picked up for $1,600. Probably the most you'll ever pay for this car is $3 grand. Yeah. You know, I mean, it's not.
That's if you're finding one that some old person owned and it's not even at 100,000 miles yet.
Yeah, I mean, they're a dime a dozen. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
So they're cheap and they get the job done. But like I said, please, for the life of you, make sure those issues are monitored and taken care of. I mean, there's not much else to say. Usually get more in depth with driving, but on this car, there's not much to get in depth about. You know?
Yeah, no, there's not too much you could do.
Yeah, so that's the basis of this video. I really hope that you guys enjoy this. Please like, share, subscribe if you learned anything. I've noticed, and why I wanted to do this video is because I've never seen anybody address these problems. Like, it's not just me. There's recalls. They're in the books. There's been class action lawsuits for them. So I find it odd that there wasn't a video made on this gen specifically and all the drastic issues that it has wrong with it. So I wanted to just bring that to light. But yeah, please like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. Nikki DQ coming at you with another upload. Thank you. Have a good one.